Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, is widely regarded as one of the top Star Trek movies by entertainment outlets, often ranking within the top 3 Star Trek films among movies featuring the original cast. It is considered second only to The Wrath of Khan, which is often viewed as the best Star Trek movie. The Voyage Home also completes a trilogy story arc that began in The Wrath of Khan. Greetings, Cosmic Core. Mike here with Sci-Fi and more, and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome to our Sci-Fi family. And for everyone that tunes into our channel, I just want to thank you all for your support. We have always said that this is our channel together, and this channel is for all of us. And without all of you, we would not even be here. So thank you all very much. So, fire up your transporters and have Scotty beam you to San Francisco in 1986, and let's explore the Whale Probe from Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. The first scenes of The Voyage Home take place aboard the bridge of the USS Saratoga, which were shot on February 24th, 1986 in California, with filming wrapping just 3 months later in May of 1986 and premiering on November 26th, 1986. Though The Voyage Home is nearly flawless, it leaves one enduring question unanswered. Who or what sent the Whale Probe to Earth? The movie begins with a mysterious probe emanating a strange noise that disrupts power on every vessel it encounters. Upon reaching Earth's orbit, the probe causes significant geological catastrophes, further amplifying its transmission and intensifying the disasters on the planet. In The Voyage Home, the crew of the Enterprise aboard a captured Klingon bird of prey intercepts a message from a mysterious probe. Spock identifies the transmission as humpback whale song. He theorizes that the unidentified species, which had communicated with Earth's whales in the past, had sent the probe because they had lost contact with the humpback whales since they had gone extinct in the 21st century. With no whales left to respond to the mysterious probe's message and no way to disable the probe, Captain Kirk decides the crew must travel back in time to obtain humpback whales aboard their captured Klingon vessel, humorously named the HMS Bounty by Dr. McCoy. But where did the whale probe come from? Well, the origin of the mysterious probe is not explicitly revealed in the Star Trek canon. However, there are hints and theories in beta canon. For instance, in Star Trek The Next Generation episode When the Bow Breaks, it is mentioned that Zadar IV, a planet with large oceans and dolphin-like aquatic life, might be related to the probe's origin. The dolphin-like creatures of Zadar IV might be intelligent beings capable of interstellar communication, possibly allowing them to communicate with Earth's humpback whales. If their communication with the whales was ceased, sending a probe to investigate would be logical. This theory suggests that the cetaceans of Zadar IV could have sent the probe to Earth. In the non-canon novel Star Trek Probe, a sequel to Star Trek IV, the Enterprise crew discovered more about the Whale Probe. In the book, a year after the appearance at Earth, the probe entered Romulan space. With Romulan help, the Enterprise established contact with the probe without it disabling their vessels, allowing Spock to mind meld with the probe. He discovered that the probe was sent by technologically advanced cetaceans resembling Earth's humpback whales. These aliens built the probe to explore the galaxy and to record communications from species it encountered along the way, including Earth's whales. The creators of the probe sought to reconnect with Earth's whales after their civilization was destroyed by an alien species. The probe's mission may have been to find a new home for the remaining alien cetaceans, and the probe was designed with the capability to terraform planets for aquatic life, potentially causing the disturbances on Earth. During Spock's mind meld with the probe, he learned that the probe did not intend to cause harm to other species. As humanoids were so different, they did not register as sentient. Spock communicated the unintended harm caused by the activities, prompting the probe to adjust its parameters to avoid harming humanoids in the future. And in yet another beta canon story, which I like this one a lot, which is in an alternate timeline from the Star Trek Myriad Universe novels, where both Kirk and Spock are dead, the Whale probe successfully decimated the Earth. In response, Dr. Carol Marcus attempts to use the Genesis device to repair the damage to the planet. The giant probe acts like an EMP device, disabling technology that gets too close. Although it has the potential to slowly destroy a planet, its primary function is to communicate. The original inspiration for the Whale probe in the Voyage Home came from the film's central theme about environmental consciousness and the idea that humanity's actions have consequences on other species of the planet. Director Leonard Nimoy conceived the storyline involving humpback whales for the Voyage Home after reading a book about extinct animals and discussing whale song with a friend. Initially, Nimoy approached Beverly Hills Cop writer Daniel Petrie Jr. to create the screenplay, but Paramount was unhappy with the script. Subsequently, Paramount's head of production, Don Steele, enlisted Nicholas Meyer, writer and director of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, to rewrite it. Meyer did not read the earlier script, believing it was not worth considering since the studio had found it unappealing. He and producer Harve Bennett divided the task of developing the plot, with Bennett writing the beginning up to the point where the crew travels back in time, and Meyer writing the middle set in the 20th century. Bennett then handled the ending. After 12 days, they combined their parts, some ideas from earlier drafts written by Peter Craigs and Steve Mearsons, such as the Klingon bird of prey appearing over the Super Bowl at halftime, and a subplot suggesting Lieutenant Savick stayed on Vulcan because she was pregnant with Spock's child, were thrown out. The creators aimed to develop a lighter story without a clear-cut villain, addressing contemporary issues such as species endangerment and extinction in an engaging and entertainment manner. Leonard Nimoy, inspired by the work of Greenpeace, wove his environmental consciousness into a narrative of the Voyage Home. Although he wasn't formally involved with Greenpeace before the film, his support for ecological causes influenced the movie's focus on saving humpback whales, emphasizing a strong environmental message.
This picture essentially is an entertainment piece, but there is an opportunity in the film to introduce the idea that something that we're losing today may turn out to be suddenly terribly important to us 100 or 200 or 300 years from now.
And I understand in your decision to select such a species, at first you decided upon plants.
Well, we thought about some kind of a plant that we might need to maybe create a medicine or something that's gone, and what are we going to do about it? The point is we had to come back in time to get something to bring it into the 25th century to save Earth. And what was it going to be? Either a person or a plant or a bird or a fish or whatever. And we decided on a couple of very large type creatures.
One aspect of Coming Home, I think, is in your character. Of course, you and those classic confrontations with Bones.
Isn't that interesting?
It's always reminding you to be human.
We do have a lot of homecomings in this picture. We come back to Earth now, 1986. We come back to the spirit of the series as the way we were doing it in the 60s, and Spock comes back to his full identity at the end of this picture.
Feeling fine.
You're right.
The Whale Probe is described in the script as a simple, non-threatening, but huge cylinder with an eye-like antenna. No specific dimensions are mentioned on screen, but effects director of photography Don Dow noted it was intended to be 5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. Designed by Nilo Rodis with ideas from the Film Mailers Cooperative in Los Angeles, the probe's simple, vaguely whale-like cylinder shape was incorporated into pre-production storyboards. Despite its seemingly simple design, Industrial Light and Magic faced challenges in realistically depicting the whale probe for the Voyage Home. Model shop supervisor Jeff Mann mentioned difficulties in achieving the probe's scale due to its large, shiny appearance, which caused blue spill problems. Extensive tests were performed to determine the right texture to impart the necessary scale. Don Dow further explained that the probe was the most challenging element to work on for the film precisely because of its minimalistic nature. The initial instructions for the probe were to make it menacing, military, and massive, with an intended size of 5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. Realizing this concept would have required an enormous model, which that in itself raised concerns that it might just look like a giant water heater in space due to its minimal detail. Although the film was meant to be light on special effects involving starship models, 3 models of the whale probe ended up being constructed. Jeff Mann noted that following Nilo Rodis' concept of making the probe whale-like, a prototype resembling a cylinder with barnacle and whale-like coloring was created, primarily constructed from a piece of irrigation pipe with a mechanism to move the antenna jetting out from the bottom. A model of the whale probe was eventually constructed, described by Jeff Mann as a cylinder resembling a section of a whale, with a barnacle-like texture and painted with a crusty texture on a blue background. The crusty texture was painted white, with the blue background added later, to give it that organic look. 3 versions of the probe were built: a primary 8-foot-long cylinder and about 2 feet in diameter, featuring an antenna ball that emerged from the hole at one end, a smaller version for distance shots, and a large section of the ship used for a shot of it heading towards the camera. Additionally, large antenna for close-ups were also created. In order to save as much financially as post-production opticals were concerned, Jeff Mann decided to have his new whale probe models have self-illuminating capabilities. Mann elaborated by saying the probe had a hole in the bottom of the ball that jutted out from it. Inside it, we put 6 halogen bulbs that emitted a general glow down onto the ball and out the hole. Then down the center, we had a tube of plexiglass that was about 2 inches in diameter that attached to the ball. Inside of that was a long tube lamp, which was just screwed into a 110 socket so the stage crew could do several light passes on the probe. After multiple shoots, ILM's visual effects director Don Dow decided that the whale-colored probe didn't work well on screen. The model's color scheme was changed and it needed texture. Ken Ralston suggested painting it shiny black, marked the surface to highlight its texture with the backlighting, and used fog filters to achieve a mysterious quality. The lighting, the ball-shaped antenna had its own set of challenges going on. Industrial Light and Magic's optical supervisor Ralph Gordon explained that the original orange ball-shaped antenna looked like a spinning basketball. They tackled this by using mats to remove the orange look and added high contrast elements to expose blue light over the area. To enhance its appearance, they used diffusion and filters to create an internal glow effect. Creating the desired effect required significant effort. They applied diffusion to both the main projector head and their optical printer and the back projector. After locking off a working diffusion, they adjusted the back head through trial and error to find the optimal placement. Aside from the probe, the Voyage Home primarily used existing starship designs, with the USS Saratoga being the Reliant model from the Wrath of Khan and the Bird of Prey from the Search for Spock. Although new, sturdier versions of the Bird of Prey were built for action sequences, the interior set was different, but maintained a sharp Klingon aesthetic. Designers used bright displays and instrumentation lights to create a smoky, atmospheric look on set, lighting characters without relying on ambient or rigged lighting. Leonard Nimoy chose Donald Peterman as the director of photography for the Voyage Home because he considered Peterman a fellow artist and valued their shared vision of the film's look. Peterman's nuanced approach to cinematography, beyond just lighting and capturing images, impressed Leonard Nimoy. The film's opening scene aboard the starship USS Saratoga were shot on a redressed USS Grissom bridge from the Search for Spock, which itself was a redressed set of the Enterprise bridge from Star Trek the Motion Picture. These scenes were filmed first to allow time for the set to be revamped into the bridge of the new Enterprise A at the conclusion of the film. To save money, existing props and footage were reused in the Voyage Home, though less so than in previous Star Trek films. The Earth space dock interiors and control booth sets from the Search for Spock were reused with updated computer graphics. Stock footage from earlier films were also employed, such as the destruction of the Enterprise and the Bird of Prey as it moves through space. And while the Bird of Prey bridge had a new design, other parts of the ship's interior were repurposed sets. For example, the computer room in the Klingon Bird of Prey was nothing more than the redressed set of the reactor room from the Enterprise in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And after the Bird of Prey had completed all of its scenes that needed to be shot, the bridge was painted white for that dream sequence of when they were traveling back in time to the 20th century. The Voyage Home was the first Star Trek film to extensively use on-location filming, with much of the production shot in and around San Francisco over a period of about 10 days. The goal was to capture scenes that were easily recognizable as the city. But this led to some logistical challenges. For instance, the scene where Kirk is nearly run over by a cab required repositioning of 12 to 15 vehicles if the shot was done incorrectly, which took about 30 minutes to do a complete reshoot. And some of the city scenes employed sets rather than real locations, such as the Italian restaurant where Gillian and Kirk eat some pizza. In the film, the bird of prey lands cloaked in Golden Gate Park, surprising trashmen who flee in their truck. The production originally planned to film in the real park, but heavy rains prevented that idea. And what would have happened is the garbage trucks would have gotten stuck in the mud. So, as a stand-in to Golden Gate Park, Will Rogers Park in Los Angeles was used instead. For scenes featuring the nuclear vessels, specifically the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Enterprise CVN-65, the non-nuclear USS Ranger CV-61 was used because the real Enterprise was out to sea. Oakland International Airport was used for Starfleet headquarters' foreground element, while scenes set at the San Francisco Bay were filmed in a tank on Paramount's back lot. Vulcan and the Bird of Prey exterior were taken with a combination of matte paintings and sound stages. Nimoy had searched for a suitable location for the scene of the Enterprise crew's preparations to return to Earth, but various locations didn't work, so the scene was instead filmed at the Paramount backlot. The production had to mask the fact that production buildings were 30 feet away. So a wide-angle shot of Spock on the edge of a cliff overlooking the scene was filmed at Vasquez Rocks, a park north of Los Angeles, which has become its own character in Star Trek lore over the years. Much of the Cetacean Institute was depicted using the real-life Monterey Bay Aquarium, with a holding tank for whales added via special effects. To film close-ups, the aquarium's walls and railings were replicated on a set at the Paramount parking lot. For the scene involving Spock's mind meld with the whales, footage of actors reacting to a brick wall at the aquarium was combined with shots of them standing in front of a blue screen at ILM. The mind meld footage was shot weeks later in a large water tank used for astronaut training. In a memorable scene from the film, Kirk and Spock encounter a punk rocker blaring music on a bus. Inspired by a similar experience Leonard Nimoy had in New York, associate producer Kirk Thatcher asked to play the role. Thatcher shaved his head into a mohawk, chose punk clothes, and, along with sound engineer Mark Mangini, wrote and recorded the song I Hate You for the scene. Thatcher also suggested that the punk, after being rendered unconscious by Spock's Vulcan neck pinch, should turn off the stereo with his face. Years later, Thatcher reprised this role as the same punk in Season 2 of Picard, once again on a city bus set in 2024 San Francisco. By using humpback whales as the central plot point, the film aimed to raise awareness about endangered species and the interconnectedness of life on Earth. Star Trek IV premiered in North America on Thanksgiving weekend, November 26, 1986, and was notably the very first Star Trek film ever shown in the Soviet Union, with a screening by the World Wildlife Fund in Moscow on June 26, 1987, to celebrate a ban on whaling. Operating on a budget of $26 million, the film grossed nearly $110 million worldwide. Not too shabby. So, what became of the 3 whale probe props? Despite finding some props from the Voyage Home that have gone through the auction process, such as a Klingon communicator and Nilo Rodis' hand-drawn storyboards, there is no widely available information about the specific whereabouts or fate of the 3 whale probe props used in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. If you happen to know the whereabouts of the probe props, drop them in the comments below. I would love to find that one out. However, what I did find was at least part of one or maybe part of two of the Whale probe props for the Voyage Home were indeed repurposed for Star Trek The Next Generation. The cylindrical section of the probe was integrated into the set design for the interior of the Borg cube, specifically as part of the Borg regeneration alcove. And there you have it, Cosmic Core. We hope you have enjoyed our video and our retrospective on the Whale probe from Star Trek IV The Voyage Home. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like the video and share it. And if you feel we've earned it, please be sure to subscribe. It's one click for you, but it means the world to us. It would always be nice, I think, to have an in-canon answer as to where some of these things in the Star Trek universe come from, like the Whale probe, the Doomsday Machine, or even Q. But there's tremendous value in the mystery of the origins, and that's one aspect of Star Trek I like. You're not always told everything. But, like I mentioned, the novels offer some pretty interesting ideas and theories. A lot of the Star Trek novels are really good. I wish they would make some movies about some of them. That would be great. And just to keep everyone in the loop, we have some upcoming videos I think you will enjoy, like Salvage 1, the Quatermass Experiment, the 4D Man, and our Halloween special, Mary Shelley, the Mother of Sci-Fi. So stay tuned, there is more to come. Until next time, everyone, have a great galactic day.